1, 2, 3.
On the Texas A&M Sports Network from Learfield, welcome to the Coach Jimbo Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. Also brought to you in part by Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit rudys.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. And by Bud Light, it's for the fans. Now, welcome to the Coach Jimbo Show.
Howdy, and we welcome you to this edition of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It is presented by Capital Farm Credit. Coming up in the next hour, we will look back at what was a little bit of a throwback in the win over Auburn last Saturday at Kyle Field, 20-3. Oh, and by the way, it was the second largest crowd ever at Kyle Field in that win over Auburn. Aggies are now number 11 in the CFP. We will focus on the next opponent for the Aggies. That will be Saturday's opponent in Oxford against Ole Miss, 15th in the CFP, or as we like to say, just another matchup in the SEC West. We'll talk with Jimbo Fisher. He is with us. So glad you are with us, whether you're all along the Texas A&M Sports Network, maybe you're streaming on the Texas A&M Football Facebook page. We're so glad that you are with us. We'll come back and start our conversation for the hour with Jimbo Fisher. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit, continues from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road in College Station. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Hey, Madden fans, the Level Next Madden National Championship Esports Tournament is streaming now and is sponsored by Unilever, which will donate 1 million meals to Feeding America. Watch the best college student Madden players compete for $100,000 in cash by watching on Twitch. Just search Level Next GG. It is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. So glad that you are with us, along with the head coach, Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo, I was trying to find all the old school things from Saturday's win. We had I formation, we had fullbacks, throws to the tight end, a quarterback not sliding and going head first. I'm not going to do that. 3-3 at the half. And we had R.C. Slocum in the class of 91, 30 years ago, that team being honored at Kyle Field. It was like a throwback type win, wasn't it?
That was real ball. It is real ball. No, it was. It was just the style of the game. It was the physicality of it and the up front and the tackling. And, you know, if you really look, I said this today, if you look across the country and the top team, that's the way they're playing. You're not seeing the 60, 50, 60, 70-point games, and people learn to adapt to the offenses and things that are going on, and you're playing up front, and guys are tackling. And, I mean, you know, you understand, I always say this, when you're talking about such a skilled sport, some days the ball didn't go in the rim. Some days the putts rim out on the lip. They don't go in. Some days the ball goes off the fingertips. There's two things that football is always going to stand. Great defense and running the football that allow you to establish things to deal those. If those other things are clicking, it's great. If not, you still got something to fall back on. You can play the game. When you can't do that is when things get catastrophic sometimes and what you didn't. And last week they had a good team. We had a good team. The way the game went, and it was a fun game. It really was.
Over 109,000 at Kyle, second largest. But, Jimbo, what I love is how much that crowd appreciates that defensive side of the ball because of the wrecking crew and everything that's been in this A&M history.
Well, I think they appreciate physicality. They appreciate football. They appreciate lines of scrimmage. And football was never – I don't care how skilled it's going to get. It's never going to change. The ability to tackle, the ability to block, the ability to affect the quarterback, the ability to hit people, the ability – even, in skill guys, you can be skilled and still be tough and physical. Now, we're not saying we don't want to do that, and that's our next process in which we're going to get to. And if we were healthy, and some things and weren't some banged up in some places, I think we really would be. But to me, the ultimate teams, and I'll say this, the ultimate teams to me were the Pittsburgh Steelers of the 70s. And I say that. You can draw it up 38 ways but silly. And then you can line them all up. They can line up and butt you in the mouth and beat you to death, or they can throw it over your head with Stallworth and Swan and hand it to Bradshaw, hand it to Harris and beat you that way, and then they can line up and cover. They changed the rules for Mel Blount. They changed the rules and that's why you can now throw the football, because it used to not be the 5-yard bump, because Mel would body slam everybody and kill them. And then they did that, and he made 4 more Pro Bowls. So what I'm saying is the object is to be physical and tough, but you can still be very skilled and do the same things. And that's the goal in which we got to get to, and we got a lot of work to do to get there. But the physicality of this game will never go away. At least I don't believe in coaching any other way.
Normally I ask you for the overview, but I really want to ask you about one play in particular, which I think totally sums up this team and what you've brought here to A&M. Devon Achane makes the run. It's a fumble. And the first Aggies off the sideline are his defense picking him up and saying, "We got you. We got you." You can't teach that, Jimbo. You have to have that, but that's the kind of player you're bringing in.
Well, and I think they understand the ability to have a family atmosphere and how much they need each other. Just, they've watched how many times he's made them points and made their job easy on defense by making runs and making yards and doing that stuff. And you understand there's going to be ups and downs and everything. And you got to have those teammates that believe in you. And just like the other day, I can remember when we were ahead of Alabama the other day, and all of a sudden the defense, remember Alabama hit about 2 or 3 scores to our offense. Hey, don't worry, we're going to go back here and score. And then they pat them on. And there wasn't no point. And hey, get your job. It's never part of what they do. And if you're ever going to have a good team and a good organization, you can't have that. And I think, we talk about the love, trust, and believe in each other all the time. And our players, they care for each other, and they understand the importance of each other, and they all go through ups and downs. And nobody understands it better than them. No one knows what a player goes through other than the other player on the team, because we've all had, whether it's a coach, you make a bad call, you make a bad play as a player, and you want to know that guy that looks you in the eye every day is behind you. When you do that, then you move on, and good things happen.
We know he was crushed at that moment, right? Because that's just the way he is. But what a feeling right there to be brought up by your teammates.
And then he comes back and plays, and the rest of the guys. That's in defense goes out, gets a stop, we get the ball back, they down, get points, and put the game away.
A 20-3 win over Auburn, 4 straight wins for the Aggies now, and it's Ole Miss on Saturday. We'll continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Barker's Heating and Cooling, proud to be the official heating and cooling provider for Aggie Athletics, earning your seal of approval since 1979. A lot has changed since then, but our pride in Aggie football and our commitment to providing great service remains as strong as ever. Gig 'em, Aggies. Saturday in Oxford, we'll get things started at 5 o'clock with our St. Joseph Health pregame show. 6 o'clock, the kick between Texas A&M and Ole Miss. Ole Miss coming off a win over Liberty. The Aggies with 4 consecutive wins, now at 7-2. As we continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. One of the questions that came in from Cole, who is watching, streaming on Facebook, the Texas A&M football page. He asks, how have you worked with Zach to allow him to feel more confident in the pocket, not get that happy feet or throw off his back foot?
Well, I think 2 things. I think, one, you get used to getting in the pocket, and that it's not as bad as it thinks. It just need, as I say, saddle time. You got to get on the horse. You got to ride. You got to spend time and realize it's not that bad. I think then the more knowledge you gain of what you're doing, the more comfortable you feel in the game plan, your decision making becomes better. A lot of people don't realize, say a guy's got bad feet, usually it's because he's confused or he's got a bad mind. Your feet and your mind are all in one. And sometimes when things aren't happening quite as fast as they need to happen, and it's like, I'm here and I go, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? And it goes here. And it's just, I think just the comfort level, the knowledge of what he's doing, the comfort in the offense, and his ability. He is a grinder now. He's a preparer. He watches so much film, it's ridiculous. And he's learned to prepare. I think just his knowledge. And then he's a tough sucker. He's going to fight his way. He's going to compete his way and make sure he does it the right way. And he just keeps getting better and better.
You've always had tough quarterbacks, haven't you? Or you've always wanted tough quarterbacks?
Listen, if that quarterback ain't tough, the team ain't tough. I don't care. If the leader isn't tough, how does anybody else play tough? How do you follow guys that aren't tough? People follow 2 people. People that are very intelligent and help them, and very tough and competitive and on that field. You got to be able to have that. To me, we talk about arm talent, my leg talent, all that. Those are things. We got to be able to process information, make decisions, and we got to be a competitor. We got to be a leader. We got to be able to affect people and make them want to play with us. I don't have to be the best player. That's why sometimes the most talented players aren't the best quarterbacks. There's so many different things that go into the position, and you have to understand that. And I'm going to tell you now, when people respect that, they got to respect you. They can't like you. Liking ain't got nothing to do with it. They can like or dislike. They got to respect who they're following, what they do, and you got to have those characteristics. And toughness is one of them.
I was listening to a conversation about arm strength, and they were talking about quarterbacks who can throw the ball way down the field. That's not arm strength. Arm strength is through that window that you always talk about.
Timing,
that tight
rhythm,
window.
Tightness. If I can throw it, is it catchable? Is it accurate? Quarterback is down 2 things: decision making and accuracy. And is the ball catchable? If it's not, I don't care how I throw it. I don't care where I throw it. I don't care. Can I anticipate? Can I make decisions? Can I put the ball in a place it can be caught? There's so many other things, and that's, with Tom Brady and Drew Brees didn't win the combine. They got every throwing record known to man. You know what I'm saying? Peyton Manning didn't. I mean, as far as he was a big physical guy, but he wasn't an unbelievable physical talent. I mean, you had your Elways and your Favres and those guys that did those things too. But and they're Joe Montana. I mean, there was another one. I mean, Johnny Unitas. Some of your greatest ones of all time. There's so many different ways, but you've got to be able to anticipate, be accurate, process information, lead, be tough. There's so many characteristics of a quarterback, and there may be 20 things that guys have, but most of them have an accumulation of probably 5 to 8 or 9 of them that are really exceptional. They can combine those, and you got to become who you are. You can't become the other guy. You got to be your own kind of quarterback.
His throw on the 2-point conversion, Jalen Simpson's still wondering how it got through his arms right to
me
Anias.
Too, because Anias should have kept going inside and stuck it inside. Anias shouldn't have bounced back outside. Knucklehead. We wouldn't have had that problem. He thought the guy was cutting him off and he felt it wrong. But no, he lasered that one through there. I ain't gonna lie about that one.
You never like when Anias drops a ball, but when he does, Jimbo, obvious a son of a gun, he will not drop another one.
No, he
will make it up to his quarterback time and again throughout the game.
There's another guy who's so competitive. I mean, so tough, so natural to never backs away, never backs down, doesn't understand. There's a block in that game early in the game, if you'll watch, and he's a cutter blocker coming. In other words, we're handing it to Spiller, and he's coming back to cut. There's a 265-pound defensive end crashing down, and he's got to kick out. And most guys want to roll on the ground or act like I miss him. He goes flying and hits the guy right in the head and neck, and his whole body's off the ground. I mean, he's never a guy who backs down. You know what I'm saying? And and then we had some drops in that game that really hurt us, which was we haven't had in a while, and we got to get those cleaned up. You can't. That kind of knocked us out of some rhythm. But that guy right there now, his heart, soul, and everything about it. I'm gonna tell you what, the shot he took on the punt when he got hit late.
Yeah.
You didn't see there was one he got hit earlier when it got whacked 2 or 3 times. That guy. You hit him now. He's a football player. It's
one of the first things you mentioned when you converted him to running back before the Texas Bowl was his pass protection.
Oh, Lord. I mean, it was natural to run in between the tackles, to block people, to hit people. And I mean hit him right down the stripe. Striper. We talk about stripe to stripe. He'll put his face right on your face. He doesn't blink.
Philip has our first question. He's tough too. I'm telling you. It means his homework done because he's here. But Philip said he saw a lot of sloppy penalties and drop balls. How do you fix this?
The drop balls we do. We've been working on the jugs. We've been working on the pass. We had 4 or 5 of those. Penalties, we had 2 holes that were critical, that were just one down on the goal line. And if we make that block on the screen, we score there in too. And they happen sometimes. Usually you fix penalties. When you get penalties is when you're behind a step, when your feet when you're out of position, when your mind wasn't there, you didn't see things. You got to get your game plan. You got to see things happen, make better decisions, get your body in position to not be in a bad position, because all penalties come from being in a bad position most of the time.
Earlier in the season, you were saying things were like a half step off. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing fewer and fewer of those instances?
Well, you are now because you're getting the same unit of guys. Like up front, the first time we played 4 or 5 games in a row with the same offensive line. I mean, so the communication levels, the talk, the seeing, I can see this, the backs can see that. They know how that guy blocks. They know how this guy blocks. So I know how the run's going to go when he gets that type of technique or that double team. You know what I'm saying? The quarterback can count on, okay, that's a rush. That's going to be a problem here. That's not going to be a problem. And you get used to the surroundings and things around you, and that allows your timing to get better. That's the consistency levels in which you got to have.
He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It is presented by Capital Farm Credit. We're at Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. The new Brookshire Brothers across from Kyle Field was built for Aggies. There's a bar serving coffee, wine, and beer, a full-service pharmacy, and great values on groceries. And you'll love their grab-and-go meals only at Brookshire Brothers. So much more than a grocery store. On this segment, as you'll see, there is this flag up here. And Mike Guidry, who was here, I believe, our first year, had the flag that you signed before the LSU 7 overtime game. Mm-hmm. He's working with the A&M Naval Science for this flag, which has been signed. He wants to get it to a carrier battle group in the Gulf. I also want to tell you that Daryl is an Army Aggie at Fort Bragg. Allie is here at Rudy's, his sister. Jay on Facebook has thanked Daryl for his service. I would be remiss, Jimbo, if I didn't ask you, with Veterans Day being tomorrow.
Listen, I said this, freedom isn't free. There's so many people who put their lives on the line and lost their lives for us to live the life and have the things we have and have stood up, and so many came back, which is terrific. We want everyone to. But, the people who stand up for this country, there's not a greater gift you're given than yourself for something greater than you. And, we talk about everything in this world that we do and we give and we take care of. We need to take care of our veterans. We need to take better care of our veterans. The things they sacrifice, and not just them, their families and the things that they go through and what this school was meant to this country and the amount of people who fought from this school and the things that happened. I mean, to me, there's not anything greater you can give, like I said, than yourself to your country. And I have the utmost respect for everyone who's ever been. My father was, my grandfathers were, everybody in my family were too. And it's the way I was raised, the way I believed, and it's an unbelievable, day for them, and we need to make sure we honor them for sure.
I understand what we do is important, but without that, we don't get to do what we love to do, correct?
Listen, we get to enjoy life. They gave us the life. There's a difference in what they fought for and what they stood for.
Thank you, Jimbo. Appreciate that. With that, we'll take a break and continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Football and barbecue lovers know the perfect brisket needs the right wood, and Rudy's smokes all their meats using their delicious signature rubs in 100% oak-fired pits. Get your real Texas barbecue fix today at Rudy's or on the web at rudys.com. And that is where we are for another edition of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It is presented by Capital Farm Credit. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher. And this one came from Facebook. Milton wants to know, did you call the SEC office and ask why the refs allowed Auburn's defense to simulate our snap count?
No, we sent in. I mean, they did. They said they didn't. If they would have heard it, they said they would have called it. And like, I talked about before, my whole point on that was we got called on that for the delay on the slap. Now, they don't hear it. It is there. I know it's a tough thing to hear, but we'd identified it. They were doing it. And I say, I don't think Auburn coaches it. I mean, players do that stuff all the time. You can get away with it. Heck, I'd be doing it. I'd be like crazy. Get them to jump. I mean, that's part of it. And we shouldn't have jumped anyway. But we thought we heard them. We identified it. And they'll listen next time and get it. I mean, that's part of the game.
Can you explain to fans that you've said this in the past, things that you don't think were called correctly, not just for the opposition, you sent in stuff for your team.
They always say to me, so why do you send your own stuff? I say, because I just want the game called right. I mean, if I see one of our guys, that should have been a holding on us. That should have been a penalty. I send our own players. I send usually 1 to 3 times, or some more, but I think we missed a penalty. Because I just think, we're trying to officiate the game right. You know what I'm saying? As a coach, I don't want an advantage. I just want it all, try to be as good as we can be. And so I send our own plays in. They think I'm crazy, but
you also mentioned it allows you to coach, right?
Yes, well,
because if you do
what is tolerant? All right, we're going to call that. We're not going to call that. And it's all subjective. In other words, how you going to call the hold, where the hand can be, where it can't be. So I like to get clarification. So when I'm teaching my players, what are you going to call? You know what I mean? And that's because the only thing you can do as a coach, you're looking for consistency. And then officials are too. And I mean, that's human. They're going to miss things. But I'm just saying, should that be a penalty or should that not be a penalty? So we know how to coach the guys the right way.
You talked about working on red zone and tight zone. How do you become more efficient in the red zone?
Just execute. We have been. We've been really efficient. And what we did the first drive down there, we should have handed it off or hit the inside guy. Then the third down, we actually had a penalty once, and we jumped off sides the other times. The other games, we've been scoring touchdowns. We've been physical. You got to run the football. You got to get makeable down distance. You got to make contested catches down there because things will happen faster, tighter, and quicker. And we've been really good scoring here lately in the red zone, in the tight zone. And that game there, we just didn't. And luckily, our defense, played well and we kicked the field goals. And that's a big difference. I mean, like I say, third down conversions in the red zone, tight zone, touchdown, those are huge, huge plays in the game. We just got to keep enhancing it, making the game plan so the guys understand it, and keep executing in practice.
Bobby right here. Couldn't help but notice number 45 on defense flying around. Is he one of your fastest players?
Without a doubt, on the whole team. I mean, skill level, receivers, backs, everything. I mean, he plays now. He can run. He can run. Like I say, when he pulls that pin now, and he don't slow down when he hits you either. He's got a chance to be a really, really special player, in my opinion.
How much is also between his ears where the game is, I don't know if it's slowing down, but he's starting to realize and then really fit those gaps?
Well, he is, and understand that what the complexity of the defense and what we're doing. We do a lot of things. We're on offense and defense, we're a pretty complex team. And the ability to see those things, and now it's just happening natural, and the ability is starting to come out. And he's evolving into a heck of a player.
Linda would like to know what, if any, adjustments on defense will be made this Saturday.
Well, I hope we keep getting better. The different defense. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things there as far as, they're because they're going to spread the field. And you talk about them throwing the ball, no huddle, but they're also one of the top 5 rushing teams in the country. So the space creates that. There, you see your defensive line, a lot of pressure there, backers fitting, got to tackle in space. You're going to have to play but get the leverages in the passes, and their quarterbacks, their leading rusher. Understand, their quarterbacks are leading rusher with 10 touchdowns. So his ability to have called runs, which now even up the numbers in the game, and also to scramble. So you're not only pressuring him, which we did a good job with Bo last week because he was a very dynamic guy on both those things. And, Bo's a big, strong guy. This guy's the same type guy. When you rush him, you got to affect him. But sometimes you got to stay within control. As I say, collapse the walls. If you start running upfield and you're creating seams, you open things up. Then they scramble, and that's where the big plays come down the field. We're going to have to be very disciplined as we're physical and what we're trying to do. And it's going to be a heck of a deal. And we got to score points on offense. Like I say, the other day we controlled. I never felt the tempo of the game was away from us in the game the other day, even though. And I always say that, you're controlling the tempo and the time. That's great if you're scoring touchdowns. When you're doing that, scoring touchdowns, you're really stretching. We didn't do that the other day. We're going to have to do that this week on the road and not have the thing. We got to put some points on the board.
I loved a point you made on Monday when you said Auburn's big plays were 7-8 yards, not 20-25 yards.
Yeah, the scrambles and the things, and we contained the rush. When Bo scrambled, we were able to get to him and not have to come off guys from down the field to go tackle him, which creates plays down the field. And we played as physical, as nasty as we were and tough as we were, we played a very disciplined, controlled football game at the same time. And Mike called a heck of a game when he by doing that, putting us in the right things.
Kind of gets lost in all of that. We've talked about all these offenses. They've got to go up against a Mike Elko defense.
Yeah, we got good players, and Mike's a great coach, and our guys are doing a great job. And so it's give and take.
Jaden Peavy forces that fumble. How happy are you for Michael Clemens?
It was awesome. Mike just keeps getting better and better, and those guys affecting the game, and they're having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. More of your questions that you have given us here at Rudy's, and more that you have supplied over Facebook as we continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to give you a VIP Aggie basketball fan experience this year. Go to 12thman.com/maroon contest and register. One winner and a guest will receive game tickets, a VIP tour of Reed Arena, and will be recognized on the video board during the game. You can register today at 12thman.com/maroon contest. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. Fighting Texas Aggies are starting the men's basketball. Women won last night over Texas A&M Corpus Christi, beating the Islanders. A&M's up on North Florida 48-41. That one's in the second half at Reed Arena. Women again tomorrow night. Men on Friday. We are in Oxford on Saturday. Basketball again on Sunday at 2. It is that busy time of year, that is for sure. Glad that you have stayed with us. It's the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It is presented by Capital Farm Credit, along with the head coach, Jimbo Fisher. And what the heck just happened during this break, Coach?
Took some pictures.
College of Nursing, huh?
Yep.
That's Leroy. There they are in the
back.
They're
always here. They're awesome, man.
Leroy has he's here every week.
Every week, man. He's
bringing
unbelievable.
the students. We meet them all. That was just fantastic. We've talked about this before. You love this part of it, right?
Get a chance to see everybody.
If you ever wonder if he appreciates all of this every single week. This isn't the old, it's something I got to do.
I do. Like people. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's a little more relaxed, right?
Yep.
Like you said, you get to meet them.
Real people.
You a hockey fan?
I love all, yes.
Favorite legend? Lauren Moore wants to know.
I would have to say Wayne Gretzky, but when I was a kid, Gretzky is
that got a cheer.
That's I'm gonna give him a name. They probably forget even more so. But when I was a kid, the guy with Bobby Orr, when the Boston Bruins and. Those two guys may have changed the game as much as anybody because Bobby was a phenomenal defenseman, and no one ever scored on. And he became an offensive player from a defensive position. And then Wayne Gretzky was. All you got to do is go look at it. It's like somebody made stuff up and put it in there, like a video game. And Lemieux, all these great players, but Gretzky when he came about and was so little, he had all those, and just the game and the numbers, they're almost. It's hard to explain how good he was. It really is. I don't know if I was thinking that the other day. We had that argument not too long ago. Who dominated their sport maybe more so? You had your Wilt Chamberlains, the world, Jabars, but Gretzky and his numbers are just it's crazy what he did.
The guys who change the game in sports belong on a different level,
and it changes
don't they?
How you look at the game, or how you the things, how you appear. You see, like that's everybody forgets too. Not only like the Jordan, one of the things the great thing about Jordan, what people don't realize, the modern game today was because of Jordan, because you had to have a center to win the NBA title, if you remember right. That's why he went third in the draft, because Elijah won, and who was a great player himself and won 2 titles. Yep. But he was the first guy who was the premier guy of everything that wasn't the center that he had and didn't have a center that took a team and won championships. And in the modern era of how you do things today, he changed that look. I mean, Bird and Magic took it that way too, but they all both had great centers and big people with them. Jordan didn't. I mean, as far as the big guys, he had good players, but I mean,
he won with Bill Cartwright.
But they changed the style of the game and how it was played. He was the first guy as a wingman that could take the game and dominate it and go win the championships, and did it all those years in a row too. So that's why I was such a huge Jordan fan at the time too. I mean, the modern game today was because of Michael Jordan.
You imagine if they couldn't hand check him?
Oh my God,
how much he would score?
And how much he scored today? I mean, and this, when they could put that hand on that hip and just guide you. I mean, it's a wholly different game, and I love the game because basketball's supposed to be a free-flowing game, but that was a man's game now. I mean, it's totally different, and these guys scoring these points today, when you could get up and check and put those hands on it, it changed everything how you played. But I'm glad. I love watching the fluidity of the game now, but different game.
Alan is asking, does cold weather affect play calling?
No, it didn't. No, play calling, no, really doesn't, unless there's severe wind or rain or other circumstances, and. No, usually, sometimes like the ball then, you can really grip it better. I used to love playing. I mean, I grew up in it, and I learned to do it. And you get a little dry finger, get your fingers wet, and you catch it and throw it. And sometimes you could even feel it better, not have to get all that sweat and all the craziness. And you build your own sweat up, too. So cold, to me, unless there's severe wind or severe rain or something like that, doesn't usually bother you at all.
Were those the elements that bothered you most as a quarterback?
Oh, wind and rain. I mean, wind and moisture by far. I mean, you don't realize some of the wind and the things you do and how you had to – the gauging of where you had to throw it, hit it, how the type of balls you could do. And sometimes you could see guys get open and I can't do it, you know what I'm saying, because of the weather, the situations. And there's an art to learn how to throw. Some guys can never handle wet balls. I liked them. I always liked wet, nasty days on offense because I always thought it gave us an advantage.
You know the play?
I know where I'm going on a slippery field, on a wet field, on things like that. And always the footing and how you did things, I always thought as an offensive player you could have an advantage, in my opinion.
And when there was rain in the forecast, I know you've done this in the past with this
we're
team.
practicing wet balls all week. Wet balls, you're dunking balls. Every ball you throw, every ball you handle, every ball you catch is going to have some kind of moisture on it all day.
And the Coolidge practice fields this week, you've got the Ole Miss crowd playing
we got
practice.
Because I'm going to tell you something now. You don't realize all these guys ain't been on the road. You talk about freshmen ain't been on the road. Your sophomores ain't been on the road. Running no crowds with these guys. The teams that go on the road now, and the road team is a little bit has a bigger disadvantage more so than probably ever in college football because more of your team's never been in front of it. And it's ever been like that before. So, and the rest of them don't stay. They leave after junior year. So you got one class that's been on the road. Right. Everybody leaves as juniors now.
That's right. I was telling this to Buzz Williams on his show on Monday, and I said, jokingly, I think the players prefer it because they can't hear Jimbo as much. And he said, my players certainly do in the gym. They ask the music to be louder so they don't have to hear me.
Well, we're going noise. We ain't going music. We're going noise. We're going music. I ain't going to do that. When they're stretching, we'll give them that. The rest of it, they can listen to me.
He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. We'll continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Come on back. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. We all know that queso practically flows through the veins of every Texan, and at Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill, queso is their pro-style offense. Costa Vida is proud to partner with Texas A&M Athletics. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It is presented by Capital Farm Credit. Coming up this Saturday, it is a 6 o'clock kick in Oxford, Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. The Aggies and the Ole Miss Rebels, 5 o'clock with our St. Joseph Health pregame show. Certainly hope that you will join us for that one as we continue with Jimbo Fisher. And Ian's question for this week.
What you got, buddy?
Here we go. How do you want to be remembered by your former players?
Somebody that always told them the truth, never lied to them, and always had the best interest at heart. That simple.
You don't have to do anything but be yourself, right?
You guys, the other stuff is their choice. I never wanted to do anything that I wouldn't do to my own kids or tell my own kids, and I always had the best interest at heart, and I was going to make them do what they was going to do what they had to do the right way.
It plays on something you said on Monday about how will they speak to you at your reunion when you come back, your teammates.
Yeah, I always say that. I always wonder when you're sitting there and you're a player and you're not doing what you're supposed to do now. And you know, people always care what people say they don't care what people think about them. That's a lie. You always know. I mean, that's what you want approval. When you walk up the reunion 20 years from now, you walk up, and here you come walking up, and there's 10 guys standing there. They say, hey, here comes Tommy. What are they going to say about him? Yeah. They're going to say exactly what kind of guy he was, what he did, how kind of teammate he was, what he believed in. Was he a tough guy? Was he part of us? Was he his own guy? Was he selfish? Was he lazy? Was he – they're going to say something about you. So write your own history. Everybody wants their own narrative. Everybody wants their own word. Everybody wants their own thing. Write your own history. How do you want to be remembered? Yeah. Let your action speak so loud I can't hear what you're saying. Do what you do. Create the habits on a day-to-day basis. And you know, we all say, well, I don't care. Well, you do. You know why? That's why a lot of them don't go. I mean, they knew they blew an opportunity. And It's a shame.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. I mean, understand where you're at and where you're at. I mean, write your own history. Write your own narrative. You write it.
Before Saturday's game, I had a chance to see Jackie Sherrill outside the Letterman's Association, obviously the Jackie Sherrill Letterman's Association, and all his former players come up. And what's really fascinating is it's such a different relationship now. They can say things. I always joke with Jackie. They never got away with that when they were players, but they both chuckle.
Mine called me Jimbo.
Didn't they?
That don't bother me. They can call you coach with disrespect. They can call you Jimbo with disrespect. I don't care.
That's true.
I'm serious. That does not bother me.
And I know you were coaching, but if you go back, you see the way that they surrounded RC. That 1991 team.
It's great to see him doing well.
Isn't that fantastic?
It's awesome, man.
But that's special, right, Jimbo? Because they don't have to come back.
Listen, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. The relationships. At the end of the day, and you're building relationships, but relationships are built with hard work, love, tough arguments, fights, getting failures, successes, and the relationship comes from you struggled together, you grinded together, you became who you became together. You know what I'm saying? You don't get those relationships if something was easy and it was a joke. You just move on. We all suffered. We all had bad days. He got on my butt. He got on me. He got on me. I was struggling that day, and that guy helped me out. That guy helped me out. The coach helped me out. Or he kicked me in the butt and made me grow up and do it. Or whatever it is. That's the gist of it's what it all gets back to. And there's no other way to get greatness or success or anything else than to go through that. That's just part of it.
The stories you share with your teammates, Jimbo, is it about games themselves or those practices or being together?
Whatever, all that, the whole thing.
Stuff like that.
The whole thing, whatever happened in the game and why it happened in the game. This is what happened in practice that led to this, and try to give them cause and effect. What I think our generation misses so much today is cause and effect. This is happening because we want to blame everything else once it gets there, and it's not my fault, and they're treating me wrong, or this is wrong, or that's wrong, or this happened to me, and I'm not getting. Well, but you did these 3 things to get to that situation. I mean, don't put yourself in that position. It don't happen. And I'm not saying we all make mistakes. But you got to identify, okay, that was my fault. Let me fix this. Let me adjust it. Let me move on. Then I correct those things and don't repeat them. I mean, that's life. Everybody screws up. Ain't nobody perfect. There's only one perfect person ever walked the world. Okay? The rest of us we're imperfect trying to get there.
Mm-hmm. That's why you've said that football's the greatest.
It
right?
is. You can't cheat it. You can't cheat. You may cheat it for a game or a play or a quarter. It's going to catch you. The discipline, the toughness, the regiments of it, doing it right, the process of doing things the right way. It's the only way to get there. And then if you do all those things right, it don't guarantee you get there. Then there's a talent level that's got to happen. Then I got to figure out how to overcome that. You know what? That's called life, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That's the way the whole world is. I mean, and the thing about football that I love, you can't do it by yourself. You got to have so many other people to help you do it. Just like you do in the world. Whatever you're working with, your family, your friends, it's all same thing. I'm
going to paraphrase the line that you like to say. How do you feel when you put your head on the pillow at night?
Yeah. Look at the guy in the mirror when you brush your teeth. He's tell you the truth. Put your head on the pillow, and you know how you felt and what you did. Did you cheat yourself today? Did you cheat your teammates today? And what you got to do tomorrow. Jimbo, you know it. Because you can fool. You can trick everybody in the world. The hardest guy in the world to trust is yourself, because you can't blame nobody else. That's why people don't want to do it. Everybody want to trust somebody else, and I can blame them if they let me down. Well, trust yourself. Find out what happens.
He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. We'll talk more about the opponent on Saturday, Ole Miss. When we return to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, it's presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show is brought to you by Capital Farm Credit. Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. Final segment of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show coming your way. Again on Saturday, 5 o'clock, our St. Joseph Health pregame show. 6 o'clock is when we get started. Foot to ball. As my friend Alan Cannon always says, 6:05. That is on Saturday. And we talk a little bit more about Ole Miss, the opponent. And Jimbo, we've seen Beatty in Missouri and Tank Bigsby and Brian Robinson and Jerry and Ely. As good a back as all of them. You're going to face
Ely and all of them. The quarterback, I mean, they can run it and throw it. Man, they're good. They're going to be hard to get on the ground. We're going to have to play.
I always think about what you say about, especially like the Mississippi schools that you have faced since coaching in the South. We kind of forget about those defenses. And now that they've added a Sam Williams, who was lights out as one of those
10.5 sacks, 6.5 tackles for, I mean, just dominating player.
And then Caldwell comes over. He's a transfer from Maryland who has fit in very well.
Played well all over the place.
Yeah.
Playing hard, man. They play hard.
That's just football in the South, though. As you've reminded us, you've been at Auburn, you've been at LSU, you've been at Florida State, you're here at Texas A&M. It's just that's the style of football, isn't it?
You can't play unless you play hard down there. I mean, it's the only way it's going to be. It's the only way you will have success. And if you don't, again, the game doesn't reward it.
No, I like when I hear people say, well, Matt Corral, he's a little bit dinged. I'm like, you know what? He a little bit dinged is better than a lot of quarterbacks.
Listen, everybody's dinged right now. Everybody. Tell me a player that's not dinged in football has already played 10 games, 9 games, 10. That's ball, man. I mean, that's when you find out if you're a football player. Can you give 100% when you're 80%? That's when you're a football player.
Yeah.
That's when you become a football player.
Kenyon Green on the finalist for the Lombardi Award. That win has won it here. I would love to see Kenyon Green.
Not a greater representative, playing outstanding football and is a better human being than he is a player, and he's as good a player as we've been around. I mean, he's phenomenal. He is just,
again, you talked about you don't realize until the unselfishness. Yeah. And, when I say selfish, I don't mean it in a – but if I can play every snap and it's not at this position – well, how do I help my team? I'm going to play.
It's like helping my family. I mean, it is. And listen, all it does is enhance your value. It shows people the versatility, the ability to learn, the ability to play different positions, and your value goes up in what he does. And he understands that. But he didn't care about that. He just cares that's what my team needs.
Yeah.
And that's the way he is, and that's the way he was raised. He has a tremendous family. There's no doubt.
Great to have Caleb Chapman again. That deep ball to him, that size. You love that size as a wide receiver.
Speed, getting down the field and getting those guys back healthy. And we're going to need all of them this week, that's for sure.
Does it stretch the defense a little bit when you have that threat?
Oh, you got to. You got to be. If people don't ever fear you run by them, you're never going to get there. And we got to do more of it. We got to get to that point. And that's when our nicks and knacks and things on the season has hurt us in that regard. But now we're getting those things back, and hopefully we can enhance it.
And you've always talked about it doesn't always have to be down the field. If you can get an Isaiah, a Devon to spring free, and a Nias, you can get those big chunk plays.
You get chunk
as well.
plays in different ways, but you got to get the field spread and do the things you got to do. And you can bunch it and circle it, or you can spread it and shred it. So, I mean, that's the way you got to look at it.
What do you want to see on Saturday in Oxford?
Well, for just the consistency. A team that's ready to play. They'll go up there and not have the self-inflicted wounds, handle the noise, handle the adversity, handle the environment of what goes on, and not worry about anything, and have a great week of practice so they can revert back to you don't win because you want to, you win because you train to, and they can revert back to the habits they've created in practice and finish good practices this week so we can go perform and make the Aggies and the 12th man happy and be proud that that's their team out there competing. And listen, play the best you can. I ain't worried about the results. Don't worry about the scoreboard. Win your space, play your job, become the best player you can be, play the best possible game you can play, and then we'll let the chips fall where they may.
Thanks for this hour. Beat the hell out of
I want to say one other thing. We're missing some folks here. You're really good friends of mine. Mr. and Mrs. Walling are not feeling well, so I hope to see them next week. They're usually here at all the shows every week, and praying for them. Hope everything goes well, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Hope to see them in a week. Jimbo, thank you for that. Appreciate it. He's head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher. Aisha Jackson is the producer of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit in our Learfield studios. Kevin Menchow is our engineer. For the head coach, Jimbo Fisher, I'm Andrew Monaco. We will talk to you at 5 o'clock on Saturday with the St. Joseph Health pregame show, and then 6 o'clock the kick. 11th ranked Texas A&M, 15th ranked Ole Miss. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you all for being here. Thanks and gig 'em. This is Aggie Football from Learfield.